Imagine killing your wife, going to jail, and being released from jail after only spending 3 years for this crime. That is the story of Pitch Black Afro. Thulani Ngcobo was his birth name. He was born in 1979. This Soweto native rose from overcoming a stutter to becoming a prominent Kwaito and hip-hop MC. His signature Afro wig, a constant companion, even inspired his stage name. Influenced by the likes of Redman, Pitch Black Afro's style is a unique blend. He seamlessly weaves American MC techniques with his native Zulu and the slangy township dialect of Tsotsi Tal, also known as gangster language. Renowned for his electrifying performances, he took the scene by storm with hits like Wami Nkosi and the hit Matofo Tofo. Pitch Black Afro remains a significant figure in South African music. He's a pioneer who influenced Kwaito rhythms, fusing it with the global language of hip hop. Now let's get into his love life. He was married to Catherine Trishina Modisan. She was his darling wife. She was described as a sweet woman who lived life fully. The couple had been together for a couple of years and ended up becoming a huge part of his music career. Now, this was his darling. This was his pillar. This was his whole wild world. And now she was infiltrated in his music life. She was the one who was getting him gigs. She was the one who was ensuring that his music was up to date. She was basically his whole world, I would say. I don't think Pitch Black Afro would have even come back on the scene without the brains of Catherine Trishana Modisan. At the same time, unfortunately, she knew that music was his whole world. So she knew where to actually touch his nerves. They did everything together. They enjoyed dancing, drinking, and they even had the same friends at that time. On the 30th of December, a day before she passed away, they actually were at their friend Herbert's place in Yeoville together. Now, it is alleged that Pitch Black Afro actually came first. He came a little bit earlier, he had his fun, and his wife came later on. She spent about like an hour or two, and it was getting late, and he had a gig the next day on the 31st of December. Remember, he was actually famous in the early 2000s, but he wanted to get back into music, as well as he was actually now an icon in the music industry. So him actually being on a lineup on the 31st of December, a day before New Year's, bringing back his nostalgic hits was something that the crowds would love. So he wanted to actually be the best at that time. He wanted to rest and prepare for his gigs. However, his wife was like, I just arrived. The party just started. I want to have some fun. If you want to go, you can go. I'm going to stay here. But remember, she was a huge part of his music career. So if she's going to spend the whole night here, get drunk, then the time when she is needed, she's not going to be as present, as proper as he wants her to be. So they got into a fight, and it is alleged from sources that this is actually not the first time that this has occurred. They would actually have fights in front of the public numerous of times, and it would always be because of the way that she would drink. Now, the couple had rented a B&B because of the fact that he would do different gigs throughout the country. So wherever they would go, they would stay at a B&B. Now, when he came back, he found out that his music in his external drives was actually tampered with, and obviously he had suspected his wife. When his wife came back, he had confronted her. Now, this is actually the late hours of the 30th of December to the early hours of the 31st of December, and they got in a scuffle. He told her, "You are the reason why my music is no more there. Why did you do this?" It is alleged that she got cheeky. She was a bit drunk as well and said, "Yeah, you think you are clever." And he actually lost his mind. Now, witnesses apparently told police that there was a fierce argument between the wife and Pitch Black Afro. The argument is because he felt his wife was disrespecting him, humiliating him, and damaging his music career. Now, the security guard who was on duty that day at the B&B said he heard commotion until around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. on the 31st of December 2015. Now, during this incident, a scuffle which took place, it has seemed like they both had some physical bruises with one another, so you can see that they both got into it. I mean, these people were also quite drunk on that day, so none of them were actually having a sober mind. Now, during the fight, he had actually hit her head on the wall, and that is actually what caused her to pass away. Some sources claim that he took a knife and knifed her, but because of my research, I have not really seen that being the cause of her death. It seems like the cause of her death was actually blunt trauma to her head when she was hit on the wall. Now, after the incident, he fell asleep, and due to the security guard's testimony, it is alleged that she passed away around 2 to 3 a.m. When he woke up around 5 a.m., I think reality hit him. He began to try to clean up the scene. He began by wiping the blood stains in the flat with a towel, which he actually tried to hide in the bathrooms. He then came up with a smart idea, which was actually very dumb. He took a pad and placed it in an underwear and made it wear it, making it seem like the reason why there was blood all over was because she was on her periods and bleeding badly. Now, reports which came out after she was actually found and an autopsy had been done came out that no, she was not on her periods, because there was actually no indication that she was on her periods. And also, I mean, come on, you really think that she's gonna be on her periods and there would be that much of blood? Like, let's be for real now. Now, when he alerted the police, it was around 10 a.m. When the emergency personnel arrived, they found his wife had bruises around her eye and blood was oozing from her ear and mouth. Support came out that it seems like she had traumatic blunt force injuries. The medical report also shows that Pitch Black Afro sustained injuries that were consistent with a person who was involved in a scuffle. Now, I like to state that even though he had injuries on his body, it could have been from the fact that she was actually trying to defend herself. Because, I mean, think about it, Pitch Black Afro is quite tall. He's also quite bigger than her. So when someone is trying to hurt you, you're also going to end up trying to fight back, and he would also get hurt in the act. So I definitely do believe that the reason why he had all those injuries was because she was defending herself. Now, when authorities came, he had maintained his innocence. He said he did not kill her. However, evidence showed that it was inconsistent. He then came clean and said that they got into a fight due to her messing up with his music and it became an issue of self defense. He then said that he believes that she actually was already sick. She was vomiting and coughing because she was so drunk, and that actually could have been the cause of her death before he even did anything. However, when the authorities came, she was pronounced dead, and they now needed to find a cause of her death. When he was arrested, he was kept in custody and he was not given bail because he was deemed a flight risk. He also did not show any remorse during the trial. He was seen as someone who was constantly laughing and smiling when he was on trial. He showed no remorse at all for this. It was actually a huge media frenzy because he was a celebrity found guilty for such a heinous crime. Now, sentencing came in June 2020 and he was sentenced to 10 years for culpable homicide. Now, I don't know much about law terminology, but for me, what rang a bell is the amount of years that he was supposed to be serving for this crazy crime that he committed. So I decided to do my research and I realized that there's a difference between culpable homicide and murder. In my eyes, I thought they're all the same thing. But murder is basically you planning to kill someone, right? And then killing them. So you knew you were going to kill them. Whereas culpable homicide is you killing someone by accident. Like, it was never your intention to kill that person. However, they end up passing away. He was also not found guilty of defeating the ends of justice. So basically, he was found guilty for everything else, but not that, which is crazy to me. Because yes, the whole situation of did he plan to kill her, did he not plan to kill her, is a whole debate. But we all know he tried to clean up the scene, and that is basically him defeating the ends of justice. He tried to wipe it up. He tried to clean the blood. He even tried to make it seem like the blood was because she was on her period. How was he not found guilty of that? He also was not found guilty of premeditated murder, so that basically goes hand in hand with why he was found guilty of culpable homicide. Now, to make matters even worse, instead of him coming out in 2031 for serving 10 years, he came out in 2023. He only served 3 years because it was under culpable homicide. Now, remember, in South Africa, jail is not a punishment. Jail is basically a rehabilitation center. So when you're going in, they basically want to rehabilitate you so that you can go out of the jail system. So culpable homicide is among the offenses covered by the special remission sentences. So basically, it's one of the conditions which actually allow you to come out early, especially if you do good behavior in jail. Now, remember the time that he went in jail, it was COVID time. He was actually forced to be on good behavior because I'm sure they were locked up for large amounts of hours because they were trying to ensure that the virus was not spreaded. So he had no other way but to have good behavior. As well as, I remember during that time, they were saying that jails were actually becoming very populated, and obviously that is not what the virus wanted. They wanted social isolation, social distancing, but because of the fact that there were so many of them, the court system were actually trying to find a lot of people to pardon. Now, you can pardon someone because of theft or robbery or ridiculous things like having even drugs, because yes, someone can argue that that is actually an offense and harm to society, but this person killed someone. Irrespective of whether you believe he did it by purpose or not, he knew what he was doing or not, but he actually took someone's life. So the fact that he only served 3 years for that is crazy to me. When people who are found with drugs spend 15 plus years in prison. And yes, I'm not saying that there's a crime which is bigger than a crime, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say, that I definitely do feel like his situation was treated with a lot of leniency. And I don't know whether because he is a prominent figure or because he had money and he had the right lawyers, but definitely is a very, very sad situation. And we truly hope that Catherine is up in heaven and she's actually resting in peace. Once again, we would like to take our heartfelt sorrows and sorries to the family of Catherine. We can only imagine how they felt like the justice system did not actually be in their favor, because they've lost their loved one and then he's out. He didn't even spend his full years in prison. Please do let me know below your thoughts on this crazy case. We have come to the end of today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that post notification bell down below. Till next time, love and light. Bye. Mwah.